The princess married the human out of duty, but bonded with him in battle. Princess Lyra of Solara, her silver hair shimmering under the artificial sun of the Solaran capital, felt the weight of the galaxy pressing down on her. Today, she was not just a princess, but a symbol of peace, of a future where the stars would not be stained with the blood of Solaran and human alike. Across the ornate chamber, Commander Jax, his human features stern and resolute, met her gaze. His armor, polished to a mirror sheen, reflected the anxious faces of the assembled Solaran and human dignitaries. Their marriage was the cornerstone of the treaty, a union meant to cauterize the wounds of a 6-year war that had bled both their species dry. The ceremony was a blend of Solaran grace and human tradition. Lyra, adorned in flowing silks woven with starlight, offered Jax a delicate crystalline bloom, a Solaran symbol of enduring life. He, in turn, presented her with a simple, unadorned metal band, a human emblem of unwavering commitment. Their vows, spoken in a carefully practiced, synthesized blend of their languages, echoed through the hall, a promise of a new dawn. The subsequent feast was a tense affair, a fragile truce held together by forced smiles and polite conversation. Lyra found herself seated beside Jax, their hands brushing occasionally under the table, a spark of unexpected warmth in the frigid atmosphere. He was not the brutish warrior the Solaran propaganda had painted, nor was she the aloof, otherworldly being the humans had imagined. They were simply two individuals thrust into an impossible situation, bound by duty and a shared weariness of conflict. The following days were a blur of diplomatic meetings and public appearances. Lyra and Jax, the newly minted king and queen of the United Systems, navigated the treacherous waters of interspecies relations. They learned to anticipate each other's needs, to offer silent support in the face of suspicion. Lyra found herself drawn to Jax's quiet strength, his unwavering pragmatism. He, in turn, was captivated by her sharp intellect and her genuine compassion for both her people and the humans. The icy formality that had defined their initial interactions began to thaw, replaced by a tentative respect, and then something more. They shared quiet moments on the royal balcony, watching the twin moons of Solara rise, discussing the future they were building, not as symbols, but as partners. Their fragile peace was shattered 2 days after the wedding. They were en route to a diplomatic summit on a neutral moon, their shuttle gliding through the inky blackness of space. Suddenly, alarms blared. Red emergency lights bathed the cabin in an infernal glow. "Attack!" Jax's voice was a low growl, his hand instinctively reaching for the sidearm holstered at his hip. Lyra, though startled, remained composed. Her Solaran heritage granted her a heightened awareness of energy signatures, and she could sense the distinct hostile intent radiating from the approaching vessel. "They are using Solaran disruptor cannons," Lyra stated, her voice tight. "Our shields are weakening." The shuttle lurched violently as a blast rocked it. Loose panels clattered to the floor. Jax, ever the commander, was already assessing their options. "We can't outrun them, and we can't outgun them. We need to make for the nearest habitable planet." "That moon," Lyra pointed to a swirling blue marble on their navigation screen. "It's designated as a Solaran research outpost. Minimal defenses, but it's our best chance." Jax nodded, his jaw set. "Prepare for atmospheric entry." And Lyra, "Stay behind me." He didn't mean it as an order, but as a protective gesture, and in that moment, Lyra felt a surge of something akin to fierce loyalty. She was not just a princess, she was Jax's wife, and he was hers. The shuttle plunged into the moon's atmosphere, a fiery descent. The attackers, relentless, continued their barrage. Jax, with surprising agility for his size, maneuvered the controls, wrestling with the crippled vessel. Lyra, her delicate hands surprisingly steady, worked the communication console, attempting to send a distress signal. "They're closing in," Jax grunted, sparks flying from a damaged control panel. "We're going to crash." "Then we crash with purpose," Lyra replied, her eyes scanning the readouts. "There's a small cave system about a kilometer west of our projected landing zone. If we can reach it, we might have cover." The shuttle hit the moon's surface with a bone-jarring impact. Metal shrieked, and the cabin filled with smoke. For a moment, there was a terrifying silence, broken only by the hiss of escaping atmosphere. "Are you all right?" Jax asked, his voice hoarse. "Yes," Lyra breathed, coughing. "And you?" "Alive," he said, a grim smile touching his lips. He unbuckled himself and moved towards the mangled cockpit door. "Let's go." "We don't have much time." They emerged into a desolate landscape. the alien sky a bruised purple. The wreckage of their shuttle smoldered behind them. The attackers, their ship a dark silhouette against the horizon, were already disembarking. They want us dead, Jack stated, drawing his energy blade, its hum a low thrum in the alien air. They want this peace to fail. Then we fight for it, Lyra said, her own weapon, a slender Solaran energy staff, materializing in her hand. It pulsed with a soft, internal light. The first attackers, clad in dark, featureless armor, advanced with chilling efficiency. Jax met them head-on, his human ferocity a terrifying spectacle. He moved with a speed and brutal precision that belied his size, his blade cleaving through their defenses. Lyra, her movements fluid and graceful, weaved through the melee, her staff a blur of light, deflecting energy blasts and disarming opponents. She felt a surge of primal instinct, a warrior's focus she hadn't known she possessed. Her Solaran heritage, often viewed as passive and intellectual, also contained a deep well of martial prowess. She parried a blow aimed at Jax, her staff crackling with energy, sending the attacker staggering back. "Watch your six!" she yelled, her voice clear and strong. Jax grunted his acknowledgement, a flicker of surprise in his eyes. He had seen her as a diplomat, a princess, not this agile, deadly combatant. They fought back to back, a seamless unit. Jax's brute force complemented Lyra's agility, his raw power, her strategic strikes. They anticipated each other's movements, a silent language of combat forged in the heat of the moment. A stray blast grazed Lyra's arm, and she cried out in pain. Jax, without breaking stride, spun, his blade a silver arc, and dispatched the attacker. He then turned to her, his brow furrowed with concern. "Are you badly hurt?" he asked, his voice laced with a raw emotion that surprised them both. "It's just a graze," she said, gritting her teeth. "Keep fighting." He didn't hesitate, but his eyes held a new intensity as he fought beside her. The danger, the shared struggle, had stripped away the pretense, the political maneuvering. They were no longer symbols of peace, but two individuals fighting for their lives and for the future they had pledged to build. As they fought their way towards the cave system, Lyra saw a glint of metal in the hand of one of the attackers. A bomb. It was being thrown towards them. Without thinking, she shoved Jax forward, taking the brunt of the explosion on her own body. The force of it sent her sprawling, her vision blurring. "Lyra!" Jax roared, his voice filled with panic. He scrambled to her side, his own wounds forgotten. She coughed, the acrid smell of ozone filling her lungs. I'm all right," she gasped, though she knew she wasn't. Jax gently turned her over, his hands surprisingly tender as he examined her. "We need to get you to cover." He scooped her up, carrying her with surprising ease, and ran towards the cave entrance. The remaining attackers, realizing their mission had failed, retreated, their dark ship disappearing into the bruised sky. Inside the cave, Jax tended to Lyra's wounds with a surprising gentleness, using his medical kit to clean and bandage her injuries. The adrenaline of the fight began to fade, replaced by a profound exhaustion and a dawning realization. "You saved me," Jax said, his voice rough. "And you saved me," Lyra replied, meeting his gaze. The fear that had gripped her earlier was replaced by a quiet strength and a deep, burgeoning affection. He looked at her, really looked at her, not as a princess or a symbol, but as Lyra. He saw the pain in her eyes, but also the unwavering resolve. He saw the woman he had married, the woman who had fought beside him, bled beside him. "This peace," he said, his voice low, "it's more than just a treaty, isn't it?" Lyra reached out, her uninjured hand touching his cheek. "It is," she whispered. "It's you and me." In that moment, under the alien sky, surrounded by the silence of the cave, their marriage, forged in the fires of diplomacy, was reforged in the fires of battle. The symbols had become flesh and blood, their duty transformed into something far more profound. They were no longer just the king and queen of the United Systems, but a couple, bound not just by vows, but by shared courage, by sacrifice, and by a love that had bloomed in the most unlikely of circumstances, a love that would now be the true cornerstone of peace.